All right, so moving on, I know there are some PMs here. They're reaching and they're like, okay, this is enough data science talk. So let's hear from Swati Bajaj. She's the Director, Premium Services at Healthify Me. With over 12 years of experience in product management and development, she is passionate about building products to solve real user problems. She has been instrumental in nurturing and growing the product at Healthify Me, chiseling and mending the premium services and experience to provide users a platform that motivates them to achieve their fitness goals. I need it for sure. In her talk today, she will cover how Healthify Me uses AI to solve obesity for millions of users across the globe. With assisted machine learning techniques and by building a virtual nutritionist called Ria, Healthify Me has been successful in transforming an ops driven company to an AI first company. This has helped achieve scale and increase efficiencies across various touchpoints. Swati.
Hey guys, I know I'm probably only good for one part of the audience over here, but yeah, trust me, I think this is a real life application of AI which we have been using and doing over the last couple of years, and hopefully it'll interest the other part of the audience also. So, just to start off with, for those of you who don't know about Healthify Me has been in the space, health tech space over the last 10 years, and we have close to 31 million users, mostly in India, but across the globe as well. And we are the most liked Indian health app as of now. And that's why the pressure is also on us to solve for the global obesity crisis, which we see, right? uh, on what Healthify Me does. So we started off almost 10 years back just as a free calorie counter where users would come in, track their food and work out and understand, where their calorie budgets are. Over time, we realized that coaching as a personal service is also where the market is moving towards and people are looking for. So we built a coaching layer which involves one-on-one consultations, giving out personalized diet plans, etc. And this business model was also working really well for us, and it's still one of our flagship products. Over the last 4 5 years, we realized that it has taken us to some level, but how do you kind of scale up from here, right? And without tech AI, I think scaling is definitely a problem where just humans are involved. So that's where we built Healthify Me Smart, which is our AI only product. And in today's talk, I'll mostly cover around, how we went about building this product. So just to recap, in 2016, we went back to figure out, what are we trying to solve? And we realized that across the globe, 2 billion plus users are overweight or obese, and less than 1 billion people are malnourished. While we do talk about solving for malnourishment, there's also another side of story where people are actually overweight and obese, right? And what do you do to solve this? Of course, there are nutritionists, but there are not enough nutritionists who could help give out those personalized advice, right? And imagine if one nutritionist has to handle almost 2,000 clients, that's impossible. So that's where we started with identifying what the problem statement is. But we knew that we were sitting on tons of user data across what they've been eating, what kind of interactions they've been having with their coaches, what are the common questions which generally people ask while they are in the journey of weight loss, right? And we had millions and millions of such data. So what could we do with this data? All of this while we were just doing human servicing, but could AI then bridge this gap? We have 2 billion population to kind of help with obesity, but we don't have enough nutritionists and everything based out of India, right? So we went about looking at AI solutions. What we started with was how can first AI assist our coaches, right? How can we enable them to handle, say, from 100 client user base to say 300 or 400 clients, right? Two things which our coaches would do is have a motivational conversation with their users and then create a personalized diet plans, right? Diet or workout plans. And we started with the conversational piece where we suggested to the coaches based on what the users have been doing, what similar users do in the same ecosystem, what should the recommended advice be, right? So these were suggestions which were created for the coaches, and hence they were reducing the time and effort which they were spending really manually looking at everything and then giving out a personalized advice, right? What this did was actually help us scale. So with 100 clients a coach could handle, we were then able to handle more than 250 plus, right? And it was an immediate quick win for us. This not only boosted our confidence into actually expanding into the AI front, but we also, of course, built a research team, AI team, right when we saw this result, right? And then we went into the next step. Since we've also now got confidence and learned from the different systems which we have built for the coaches, we realized that, it's prime time now and we need to open this for our users as well directly, right? So then we built RIA, which is our world's first AI nutritionist. In fact, RIA can handle for any kind of conversations which a actual nutritionist can, right? Because it's also built with almost 400 man years of intelligence and with almost 500 different million data points around food, workout, and messages, right? Not only this, RIA can also share knowledge to the users based on the context which the user is going through, and hence almost replace a human coach. So what this did to us was almost 60% of all our message conversations then moved to RIA. So only 40% retained with the coaches and 60% was handled by RIA. RIA is also intelligent. So of course, with any AI systems, you're bound to fail as well, right? At certain points. So when RIA is almost 95% confident that, hey, this will be the best response, only then RIA steps in. Otherwise, she would actually do a coach handoff and say, hey, coach, you can handle this, right? So that's how the system was built. And that not only actually helped us scale, but it also helped the users, because users until then were getting those conversations only during the working hours of coaches, but during off working hours, especially in the nights when they are partying, etc., they have nobody to interact with, right, on what do I eat and what should I avoid, etc. And that's the gap which RIA was also filling in, and hence it also improved our entire engagement of users. Just so that it also helps this audience here, I'll quickly go through a brief architecture of how the RIA conversational bot works. So imagine we have a user message, what do I eat for breakfast today, right? So it goes into a pre-processing layer where all the noise is removed, and then we kind of identify the intents and entities from there. We also do a post-processing to ensure that the right set of validations are kicking in. And then it finally goes into a response engine where there is an information retrieval system which is based out of all the earlier coach messages which were there in our system. And we also have a ML ops team who is also curating some of these responses. So picking up everything from there and personalizing it for the user is how RIA would respond. And like I mentioned, if RIA is not confident, it would actually do a coach handoff. With all this, there is also a feedback and learning system. So users do interact on that, upvote or downvote the response which they've gotten, or give us different ratings, etc. And all of that also kind of feeds back into the system, so that next time RIA is already aware what is good and what is wrong, right? So that's how the current architecture of RIA works. And in our previous discussion also, we heard about BERT. So BERT is what we are using here as well. So moving on, so we did assist our coaches, we assisted our users to some extent, but there were still coaches involved, right? There were still diet plans, workout plans, which still had to be created. So then we moved into solving for a problem where can the diet plans can also be auto created by our AI system, right? And that's when we actually built out our automated smart plan diet plan, where it takes care of all the users' allergies, medical conditions, regional preferences, cuisine preferences. And of course, again, it is backed by data, right? So we already had 2 million diet plans which were sent from a human coach, and we backed onto that gold mine and then created this, right? So again, I think from a system perspective, it is also dynamically learning throughout the journey. The users, do suggest and recommend that, hey, this is not what I like and this is what I prefer. And I do want my breakfast to be repeated for my, dinner also, or lunch also, and things like that, right? So our AI systems understands that. What this helped us do was, at the end of it, really create a AI only solution. So now we are still chasing the 2 billion population who are with obesity and overweight, and how do we kind of give them a affordable solution, right? So we were able to create, with this and Ria as a conversational AI nutritionist, create a product which was 5x cheaper for the user to purchase, right? And that was a big win for us. Again, just going into details on, how this automated diet plan would work. So we do collect users' preferences on the various different things which I spoke about, their medical conditions, what are the foods which they generally eat, or what are the foods which we can infer from what they have been tracking on the app, etc. And then it goes into a system to filter all the foods or meals options which we have into our database, right? So it filters and then ranks it based on the user's preferences. Now, it moves on to another layer called diversifier, where not everybody would want to eat the same food all days of the week, right? So if I say that, hey, I like idli sambar, if it was a static model, then it would probably give me idli sambar all days, right? But here we are also looking to diversify my options. And based on my level of diversity as a user, if I want to, diversify all 7 days, I need all different options, or, give me some options which can be repeated. So the diversifier kind of takes care of that. Again, it's very, very personalized to the user. Then we move into a calorie balancer. So I may be a person who should be eating 1200 calorie budget, and somebody else should be eating 1800, right? So it goes into a calorie balancer. It figures out how much protein, carbs, fiber, etc. you should be eating, and then adjusts based on that. And finally, right, it goes into something called a decorator. So this was a very funny example which we had also come across, where a user from, I think, Maharashtra was like, hey, I'm getting ghiya ki sabzi, I'm getting ghiya ki sabzi. And the team who was building this was wondering, what is ghiya ki sabzi? Why is this ghiya ki sabzi coming in? And then they realized ghiya is lauki, which is called in some parts of India. And lauki is what the user will eat, but ghiya is not what he's understanding and which he'll eat, right? So we figured out that, just pure regional language decoration is also which is required, and we built a decorator which adds those specific region specific tags, and certain additional information also, right? That, hey, this food is recommended because you have high cholesterol, or this food is recommended because you have, diabetes, etc. So uh, these different modules work together to actually give out the diet plan as an output, right? And that goes to the user. User is interacting with that, swapping certain foods, saying, hey, I don't want idli for today's breakfast, give me other options similar to idli, right? So things like that. And then we again learn from there what are the things which users are completely ignoring, which the diet plan is suggesting, and then we don't suggest that again after we've seen that happen more than, say, two times or three times, etc. So this is how the smart plan diet plan works. And I think the end impact which we saw was almost 60% of our plans which are being sold now are AI only plans. And that has caused not only good for the business, but also helped us scale up and reach out to a lot many more users, which we want to. And hopefully over the next year or so, we'll also be touching almost 1 billion users as well. So that's where we are so far. But what else is in the future of AI, right? Especially for a health tech space like us. So that a couple of things which we are looking at. One is on how do you kind of allow the users to adhere to what they are, right? So now you've given the advice, you've given the diet plans, but how do you make sure that they are also sticking to your app? They're sticking to what you have shown to them, right? So one of the things which the users actually come in for is track their calories, and right now it's quite textual, and of course there's voice input as well. But we've realized that food image recognition is gonna work better for our audience, and we're going after that. Along with that, there's also glucose prediction which we are looking at. So we've realized that weight loss as such definitely is dependent on metabolic health, and metabolic health is a consequence of your glucose levels, right? So how do you kind of enable your systems to interact with the user, maybe initially through sensors, and then you realize that, hey, this is how the glucose spikes, etc., happen for this user, and give personalized advice to them, right? So imagine that every day during lunchtime, my glucose spikes. Can the system automatically tell you that, hey, go for a 15-minute run or walk just before you start off with your lunch, or go for a 10-minute walk right after your lunch, right? So that's something which we are looking at, and that's what we are for the next 6 months to 12 months. So to sum it up, I think these are some of the key learnings, at least for us. Start simple when you're thinking of a AI solution. Always break down the problem into what is the easiest problem to solve for, and go after that. In our case, we did not directly build RIA directly for the coaches users. We actually built it for the coaches who could validate systems and make us understand, give us that confidence that yeah, certain systems can work in future as well. So start simple. Clean data is definitely a prerequisite. So like I mentioned, we were sitting on tons of data, and data is definitely required. Now, how clean is that is something which varies from domain to domain. In our case, we were lucky enough, our data was quite clean, so we didn't have to do a lot of processing there. Customize for your need. I think somebody else also mentioned that off the shelf, models, etc., which you use, you cannot just use and then expect things to work, right? So you will have to customize it for your own need, and focus on impact. So most times, especially when we are, doing any of these machine learning AI systems, building those, sometimes we are so engrossed in certain algorithms that we are just trying to solve for that algorithm, right? But we are forgetting about the larger picture, that, hey, is it going to impact the end goal which you are looking for to, right? So focus on impact. Keep questioning yourself that, hey, is it going to solve for what you started as your objective in the first place? And of course, build, iterate, learn, and repeat. So we've continuously been doing that. I mentioned that we are using BERT now. Before that, we were using TensorFlow, and before that, we were using something else, which I don't remember. But there's always an evolution to what we are doing, and I think that never stops. So yeah, continue doing that as well. So yeah, that's it I had. Thank you. Any questions? Yeah.
What I understand is you monitor the diet plan, right? So, but obesity is a much bigger scope, because it also depends on how much you work out and the sleeping habits. Do you
Right.
also monitor those things and provide suggestions, or
Right.
it's only limited to the diet
No,
plan?
I actually didn't cover other things, but
Okay.
we do have a workout plan as well. We do track users' sleep and stress levels and other things. But diet and workout plays two important roles, and we do have a automated workout plan as well, which we share with our users. From a tracking perspective, sleep and stress is something which we have at a base level, but right now we are also trying to look at how do we tie all of these things together. So if somebody has, say, a disturbed sleep, can we automatically change the workout plan or the diet plan for the next day, and get the user back on track? So
Okay, and a small question again, like, see, the customers could be like who fear to become obese, and there are customers who don't care. So the people who really come and enter, I eat this, they are people who are very disciplined in the way of living, right? So how do you attract customers, or in terms of your application or something, like who really don't care about the health, but they want to, I mean, that's the actual target population, right?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that's true. I think this problem was more predominant, maybe I would say, 8 to 9 years back, but now it's slightly less. Everyone is thinking about their health, and there are both kinds of users, one who are self motivated and one who really need that push. So that's where our coaches also kind of come in, and not just coaches, even our AI system as well, right? Since it takes in multiple inputs from the user also to understand the user demographic as well, right? Not from just your age, gender perspective, but how likely are they to drop off from a program like this, or have they tried something in the past, and what has worked, what has not worked, what is the end goal which they're trying to reach, etc. So based on that also, there are certain things which gets personalized for them, and there's a different I would say motivation angle which needs to go into them as well, right? So there are users who are just unaware about that they are in this zone, and they need to take care, and they need to kind of follow certain regime. But I think now with health being at least top of the mind for most users, that's not too much of a concern for us. Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, that's a very interesting product that you have. I mean, the question that I have is, I mean, how do you deal with things like privacy and whether the customer actually, I mean, if somebody were to come and tell me when I'm eating my favorite gulab jamun, don't eat it, I would probably like, switch off the app. So, how do you, deal, advice is like,
Yeah.
you have to be very careful about how you give advice. I mean, that's
Yeah.
one thing that, we have, I mean, in Intuit also, we have large
Yeah.
programs that essentially look at giving financial advice. How do you build trust, with the user on advice, and how do you ensure that the advice is not naggy? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So how do you do that?
Yeah. Again, since there are different personas of users, right? You as a user might not, be happy with those kind of advice, but me as a user, I would be really happy with that advice, right? So we try and understand the user's persona as well. And once we understand, we know that, hey, where we need to draw a line, where we can be pushy, where we have to, maybe stay slightly outside and still keep nudging and keep saying. But I think that's true not just for the AI product which we have built, but even for our human services. So as a coach, you need to really understand the user, and if the user says, hey coach, don't call me again and again, or call me only once in a month, don't call me every week, then the coach will have to kind of adhere to that. So it is a tough problem, but there are certain systems which we have built to understand the user's persona and then push accordingly. Yeah.
Hi, Swati. Want to understand, you said starting simple. How did you go about identifying the first use cases or maybe the intents initially, given the range of intents Ria could answer? Were
Right.
there any frameworks you used or any tips there?
Right. Yeah. So in fact, we started very, when we started scratching the surface on figuring out how to build RIA, we had all the conversations from the past between the user and the coach, right? And we picked up like the top 100 such conversations, right? And we realized that contributes almost to 70% of entire conversation. So it's like that 80-20 rule where mostly everything is kind of covered in that. And then there's a long tail, right? So we picked up only those and we kind of modeled our systems around that. So there was a lot of grunt work, I would say, where we had to really look through what each of those conversations are like and create like a framework, very manually, I would say, and then kind of feed into our system, and then it kind of got evolved and ran through all the different conversations and stuff like that. But yeah, there is an initial grunt manual work, I would say, which we had to do, but this was almost 5-6 years back, so I don't know if things have changed now and if there's better way to do that.
Thank you so much for sharing this. This was really interesting to know. My question is building on what he already asked is, so you guys have picked the use case of nutrition, right? And have gone deep in that. That makes a lot of business sense because you should solve something well before you start jumping to, let's say, exercise, stress, sleep, right? What I want to know is, I feel there's a lot of opportunity in exercise science and the training part as well, to use a solution like AI. One is like, are you guys looking in that? And when I say that, probably what I'm hinting towards is, uh, just doing exercise is not enough, right? You need to do it correctly, and that's where you need a manual intervention where a person is telling you you're not doing this right, do it this way, that way. And again, the same problem will happen where there are 2 billion people who are doing exercises, not enough coaches to tell them, right?
Right.
Probably technology can solve that.
Right. So there's something called posture correction, and we have actually done it on a hackathon, but we have not productionized that. But there are those systems which we can also use where someone who's exercising, you don't need a human coach to be looking at whether you're doing it right or not. Those posture correction systems can actually detect and tell you. So there are certain things which already exist in the market. I think for us, 80% of our company is still into nutrition and 20 into fitness, but we are exploring those as well, as and when we are kind of moving towards.
So are there other companies who are solving for this particular use case, like inside or outside India?
There's Peloton from the US, and Cult does. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, Swati.
Hi.
Coincidentally, I'm Ria too, and what I have is not a question. But actually, as a user, I can endorse Healthify Me live here, because Healthify Me actually helped me to lose all my post-pregnancy weight, and this is the testimony of my
Wow.
journey too.
That's awesome.
So I
It's
just
great
wanted
to
to share
have
that.
a
And
customer of Healthify.
yeah, so I actually subscribed a super mom package, and it actually worked for me.
Great. Thanks for sharing. Yeah. So, yeah, this product definitely works, guys. I'm sure you are working with a coach, but without a coach also, it.
Yeah, a diet coach and as well as an workout coach.
Right.
And as you mentioned, the my workout coach was like pushing me a lot, and then I actually said, "Don't call me. I don't have so much of time for those so much of workout." But somehow the entire journey worked for me, and
Great.
yeah,
Happy
I
to hear
went
that.
back to my post pre-pregnancy weight and all.
Great. Cool. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Oh,
Um,
sorry.
yeah, so my question was regarding have you created something like a food graph, especially for Indian food, right? Like because a biryani can be dum biryani or Mughal biryani, different types of
Yes.
biryani, and also are you looking at the ingredient level to get the nutritional value?
Yeah, yeah. So both are correct. We do have a food graph which we create to identify similar foods. So like I mentioned, idli could be different varieties of idli, dosas could be different varieties of dosa. So when we are recommending to the user, right? Generally, when I spoke about diversifier, the diversifier also takes care. Ki, hey, one day you're giving me masala dosa, next day don't give me plain dosa, because again similar food only. Give me something else. So we are able to identify that and then recommend it. And the second piece which you mentioned, if you could repeat.
No, it's the ingredients, right? Like for
Ingredients, yes.
example, how do you get the nutritional
Yes.
value? Like how do you predict the ingredients from a
Right.
dish?
Yeah. So in fact, we don't do prediction for nutrition value. We have all the food database which we have is in house, and we are hand curating them. So we have a team of nutritionists who are every day creating these food recipes, and they are the ones who are adding the ingredients. So we have all the data already in place. So we are able to also recognize because of the ingredients which goes into recipes.
One last question. This is regarding food image recognition, because in Indian food, occlusion is a big problem. And also we have it in separate meals, right? Like for example, I have sambar and then curd, and then I have
Right.
to have separate, like,
Right.
it's not like a burger wherein, it's burger, then you have fries. So it's a lot easier as a computer vision, solution to even look at it.
Right.
So this is actually a limitation. So I just want to know, are you guys thinking through it as from a product perspective?
Yes, definitely. So in fact, we had launched this product almost 3 years back. We call it Snap, and we had to shut it down because of some of these limitations itself. We were not able to accurately, 100% times predict this. But I think the team has, started to do a revamp of that, and with newer technologies, we are hoping that it will help us solve. Again, it also depends on the data which you have, right? The data set which you have. So over the last 2 years, when it was the project was stopped, we were also collecting all the data in our backend infrastructure. So that's kind of ready now, and now we want to kind of revisit this problem. Yeah.
And the Jarvis, is it based on NVIDIA Jarvis or it's just a
No,
product? Okay.
no, it's a Jarvis which we call internally.
Just one quick question. Do you see any differentiation in success rate of customers achieving their objectives when they opt for RIA or when they opt for the coaches? And if not, if you see like probably like more inclined toward coaches, but is there a particular segment of customers that prefers RIA?
Yeah, so RIA is mostly preferred by users who are already kind of motivated, self-motivated, and who can do things on their own, right? More like a DIY kind of a user base. While the coach plan is mostly currently what we see is taken up by slightly older age group, say 30 above, or people who probably have tried certain things in the past. Now they just want to kind of get like a personalized advice from a human coach. But the smart plan which we have, the AI piece, is targeted mostly for the younger audience. And the success rate is also definitely differing. I would not say it's same as what our human coaching services provide. Slightly lower, but almost there. I would not say it's very subpar, and that's why human coach service is always better. But it's slightly lower. But repeat business from there, etc., is quite easy. So yeah, I think it's working both for the users and for the company as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.